Napoli, the first Italian ship to make it to legendary tier. It's a cruiser, kind of a weird one too because of the size of its guns. It falls somewhere between a heavy cruiser and a super cruiser. They're 254mm guns, that's 10 inches, so yeah, pretty odd caliber size, one that we're not used to. She has exhaust smoke, decent heals, torps, and SAP secondaries. No main battery SAP, which is a huge drawback, but still, this is shaping up to be a great legendary cruiser. The SAP secondaries have a base range of 5 kilometers, and they're actually quite accurate, statistically more so than the Massachusetts. And speaking of accurate, the main guns are amazingly so, with the Sigma of 2.15. It's the second best cruiser Sigma in the game, I believe, after Stalinchad. So far, I've been playing mine exactly like I do a Mouthy, basically hit and run tactics followed by some aggressive brawling, and it's been working out quite well. My build, secondary battery, mod 1, buff the rudder twice, and then buff range and dispersion. Membelli with full agility. Top speed gets up to 42 knots without an engine boost, and the rudder's 3.6 seconds. That's okay. Now you can get more creative than me. I basically just left my Amalfi build the same because I'm lazy. Lightful could be a good inspiration choice, Von Essen perhaps, and Reigerwald. Notice all of those are AP buffs. Since you don't have SAP, you're back to the crappy Italian HE that we've been stuck with on the tech tree cruisers since they came out. It's not good. So mostly you're going to be wanting to shoot AP with this ship. The fire chance on the HE is 16% with a 17-second reload. For comparison, Des Moines reloads 3 times faster and has a 1% more fire chance. Yeah, the HE's not great. You're not going to set a ton of fires, and the alpha damage is also not very good. So armor-piercing shells, that's really what you need to be shooting most of the time, and sling HE just when you don't have any other choice or there's a DD around. The SAP secondaries, kind of gimmicky. I've found them to be mildly useful actually though, because I end up brawling most games. You have quite a few 90mm guns, but there's actually 12 152s on this ship, and they have decent accuracy like I mentioned earlier. You can't exactly build into them. You could put D-Revel on there, but that's really silly to have a useless base trait and no secondary battery module in slot 4. So I just left the first module on there to give me 1 extra kilometer. It's up to 6. Really, you don't need aiming systems mod 1. The accuracy is stupid good already. So how does she compare to the rest of the field? This ship is a friggin' tank. The HP pool comes in 3rd place behind the Yoshi and the Stalingrad, and like mentioned, the heals, they're okay. I think I read on PC that she actually repairs 10% of Citadel damage, but don't quote me on that over here on our version of the game. The armor reminds me a lot of Amalfi, so if you're good with angling armor in her and tanking battleship shots on the belt, Napoli's going to feel very, very familiar to you. The foredeck plating is mostly 25mm, but that's okay, it's not the end of the world. You have a great icebreaker, a thick belt, good upper belt, great deck armor, you can actually tank 406mm guns with it, and a bit of a turtleback armor scheme. A quick tutorial in angling your belt, if that's something that you're really not used to doing. Let's bring up a participant from the audience. Oh look, we have a volunteer, Mr. Montana, come on up. So as we're approaching this guy, notice we're not going directly bow in at him. If so, he could just aim at the top of the bow, punch right through to the Citadel. Instead, we want to give him just enough of an angle that he feels like he can shoot the side of our ship, and when he does, we should bounce most of the shells off the belt. Hold this angle all the way in, and there's not a lot that a battleship can do against you, unless they're a German secondary BB, a Torp battleship, or Yamato or Musashi. The gun DPM, it's not great. And again, the HE sucks. The AP is good, it penetrates a ton of armor, it has really flat firing arcs, and it's a blast to use. Fun fact, the AP is enough to overmatch Minotaurs, so have fun. Reload is a little long in the tooth, but it's something you get used to. You could spec full DPM if you wanted to get down closer to 14 seconds if you'd like. I just happen to love the agility build on the Italian cruisers personally. Moving on, the Torps are Italian sea mines, 56 knots low alpha, but the 13.5 kilometer range is pretty nice. You get 4 on each side. The AA is hot garbage, worst cruiser at legendary tier. So if you're getting focused by a carrier, use smoke and GTFO. There's just not a lot you can do against CVs in this ship. Hide behind teammates with good AA bubbles. Stock speed is the highest at the tier, and the 750 meter turning circle is really pretty good. Colbert and Minotaur I still would say are the premier agile cruisers at LT, but Napoli is fun, and you can move around pretty good for a big girl. And finally, concealment is cracked, 11.5 stock. If you wanted, you could buff it to probably be around 9 kilometers, so that's really great. And that brings me right to the gameplay. Without radar or sonar, without good AA, Napoli falls into a category of what I would call a damage cruiser. That's your purpose in life. You can't really support your team in any other way except dealing damage. But there is one other way, and that is to tank damage. Like mentioned, Napoli is very, very tanky with an awesome armor scheme and a lot of health. Throw on an agile build and your ability to move around and dodge incoming fire makes you even more tanky. So while you're working on dealing damage to the Reds, I like to use Napoli to attract enemy fire, bounce battleship shots, and just tank damage for the team. Personally, I think if you choose a concealment build, it would be good. You could get into some pretty insane positions, but I feel like you would be taking away a component from Napoli and being able to help your team. Another great aspect of the speed build is that when it comes to pushing flanks, you can get there faster than most any other cruiser. Colbert, with an engine boost, is the speed king still, but Napoli is not to be underestimated. She is fast AF. So again, in my games, I chose to ambush enemies, use hit and run tactics, and as always in Italian cruisers, I'm usually waiting for an opportunity to brawl. These high tier Italian cruisers excel at this gameplay, and it's just a ton of fun. Final verdict. Napoli has pretty low DPM, not the best consumable suite, pretty bad AA. When it comes to carrying games, it's gonna be kind of tough, but in other ways, I think it's just a beast of a ship. It can tank just as good, if not better than Stalingrad and Alaska, especially when you throw on the agility build. Enemies are going to find Napoli is a really frustrating cruiser to fight against. Overall, I think I have to give Napoli 3.5 out of 5 stars. I think some players are going to find her more difficult to play than other cruisers at the tier. I'm looking at you, Stalingrad, Minotaur. There's just Worcester. There's some easy legendary cruisers to play. Really, really easy. So Napoli will have a little bit higher of a skill floor, but if you are a Regia Marina fiend, you're going to love this ship. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. I would love to hear from you guys, and be sure to hit the like button, as it would greatly help me out. Be sure to subscribe to the channel, and I will catch you guys in the next one. See ya.